All right, up next on the bench is a Kenwood. Let me see what this Kenwood is. It's a Kenwood KD2000. I don't believe I've worked on a KD2000 before, so this is a new one. But I have a list of things the owner would like for me to look at, including a ticking noise, possible speed issue, low output, potential low output, and then kind of the general health of the turntable. Also, there's an issue of switching between 33 and 45, an occasional hum, right? An occasional hum that pops up, and I think I probably have a right potential cause of that hum right there, because the end of the grounding cable is broken off. So, and they actually mentioned that to me on the phone. What I want to do first, and I forgot to grab my phone, is I want to do a real quick function check, see what the operational status of the turntable is. So we'll figure out if this is probably just an auto return. Then we'll look at the speed issues, and finally then we'll give it a listen and see how it sounds. I had to walk away and grab my phone, and this was a family member's, so it was handed down to the customer, so we're going to take extra special care of everything. And let me grab my thing here. Let's see where the speed is on this. Alright, so first we'll move the tone arm over, and I want to see, tone arm elevator does not appear to be working. Now we may have to engage play to get it to work. I'm not real sure on this model, but let's see. We're going to put it up just to be safe. Let's see what the speed is. And on 33 it's a little slow, so 33.04. And what the customer said was if you go to 45, it takes a while. And it is taking a while, but let's see what happens to the speed. Now, it kind of depends on how that 33 to 45 speed change happens as to whether or not this is normal behavior. Looks to me like 44.8-ish. Right? So 45 speed is also a little bit slow, and then we'll go back to 33. So on some turntables, what happens is there's a guide that the belt goes through, and the belt will actually move up and down on a spindle. I don't think this is how that works. It might be, but naturally, if that's how it is, it'll be slow on both 33 and 45. Sometimes it's electronic wizardry that happens underneath, but we'll see what the case is with this turntable. So I'm going to go tone arm down, so it looks like the tone arm elevator is working and it doesn't need to be damped. In fact, it feels to me like it's over damped. And this has an Ortofon Omega, and the Ortofon Omega is such a tall cartridge that right now the tone arm elevator doesn't even pick it up enough to where you could place it on top of a record. So what I'm going to have to do is be very careful. And I want to hit the tripping point and then let the mechanism return it. Alright, so it is a little bit slow. So things that could cause that naturally, right? Lubrication of the platter spindle, condition of the belt, condition of the motor, right? Any of those things can cause that. Cosmetically, the turntable looks okay. It is a Kenwood, so like all Kenwoods, if you've watched any of my service videos, oh, what was that noise? Something's rolling around in there. That's not good. Kenwoods are always so close, right? They're just, it's a swing and then a miss. So we got a badge that's a little bit crooked here. I'll probably try to fix that if I can. We're going to have to get inside here though and figure out what in the heck that noise is. But something is broken loose in here. And it does appear that the way the speed changes is there's a groove that the belt passes through. The belt, to me, feels like it's almost a bit too tight, right? And that can cause a speed issue. But we'll remove that from there. And then, I mean, I think the lubrication of the platter spindle seems to be okay. I mean, it'll just sit here and spin all day long. Right, so that is probably not the issue. The issue is most likely with the belt. So let's loosen this up. Right, pop that off of there. And let's take a look at what's going on with... Right, stylus is clean, cartridge is cracked. That could cause an issue, right? So this cartridge is cracked, and what most likely happened, and if you look at it, the body is actually, right, it's not really slid up all the way. So this black piece, I believe, should be flush, so it should be sitting like that, and it was sitting back a little bit like this. So that would definitely cause diminished output, and it's probably because the cartridge is cracked right there. And that crack probably just happened over time. Right, the nylon, the plastic that they use will just shrink and then crack. So that would be my guess there. What I'm wondering about is, now, to me, and I want to show this to you, this is probably also contributing to the speed issue. If we look at, and I'm going to try to zoom in and get this on camera. I probably really won't be able to. But if I zoom in on that guide, and see the guide right there? So the guide is actually sitting lower than the top of this spindle. So what's most likely happening is the belt is rubbing on the guide, right? So this spindle actually has to come up a little bit. So what I'm going to do first is adjust this spindle. It looks like I can also adjust here. So what I may do first is just loosen this screw here and then, right, kind of tilt that down a little bit. I think you can fix that either way. At least that's my assumption. So what's happening is the guide, let me zoom out. The guide, right? The guide is sitting higher than the spindle. So there's got to be some friction coming from the belt. So first, let's see if we can loosen that. And I'm just going to tilt it down a little bit. And I'm going to center it. And then we'll test it and see what happens. And you know, the problem with belts nowadays is, you know, Kenwood is not making belts, and whoever manufactured belts for Kenwood back in the day, they're no longer probably making belts. So you know, you're at the mercy of some random seller on eBay or Amazon, and there's a lot of inconsistencies with belt size. You have to make sure it's the right length and the right width and the right thickness and all that kind of stuff. So let's look at what that did for our speed. Not much. Not much. But it was worth a shot. And then 45. Let's see what's going on with 45. Oh no, 45 is actually faster than 33. So 33 is still a tad slow. So we got a couple of different options on how we can tackle that. All right. But again, I don't think it's a lubrication issue. Oh, you know what? While I got it here, I'm going to go ahead and pause. I'm going to connect this to my stereo, and then I'm going to pull that stylus out a little bit, and I'm going to see if I get diminished output, and then I'll listen to it like this, and then I'll pull that out a little bit the way it was and see if I get diminished output and I'm pretty sure that I will. But I'm going to do that off camera and I'll come right back. All right, this cartridge is definitely bad. So I have to turn my stereo. I mean, I'm not getting any sound out of that at all. So now the other thing it could be is if there's a muting circuit on here, the muting circuit may not be, sorry, I don't know why I just hit that button. The muting circuit may not be disengaging all the way. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a different head shell from inside with a different cartridge on it and test. All right. I want to be very careful with this cartridge and stylus. This is a Stanton 881. And it's kind of a high-end stylus cartridge. So I want to make sure my tracking force is kind of dialed in first. All right. Oh no. I'm still getting diminished output. Interesting. Interesting. So we know that it is something in the turntable. All right, so get this stuff out of the way. And I'm going to have to flip this over, take the bottom off, and we're going to look at the design of this turntable. I mean, I guess it could be, well, it's not the head shell. It could be a lot of resistance going through the wires themselves, but I'm thinking it's I'm thinking it is the muting circuit. So what I'm going to do is we're going to look at resistance on the wires. Well, first let me make sure. Right, so I want to test for continuity. I'm going to go right channel. Make sure I get right channel. Okay, there's right channel. Oh, you know what? Yeah, we may have something. So what's happening is we have left channel hot. We're positive. We have right channel positive, but we're also getting right channel negative. Right? So I think we got something crossed up or mixed up somewhere. All right, so I'm gonna flip this over, take off the bottom. We'll look at these wires and check out what's going on. All right, so bottom is off. Here is the screw that was making that noise underneath here. I have no idea what this might go to. Let's see, I think underneath this cover here, if there is some kind of muting circuit, it may be over here. But I don't know why we're getting, why I'm getting continuity between right and left. Between right and left, positive and negative. Oh, got another screw right there. Now, since there's a screw floating around the bottom of this, I don't know if someone has been in here before. There's the muting circuit right there. So what happens is, okay, we got right, left, right, left. Sorry for my big head getting in the way. So it looks like that's good. trying to figure out how this mechanism is, how this is supposed to work. To me, sorry, my head's in the way. So right now it's closed. So we're making contact between positive and negative, and we're grounding out the sound. So I think what's supposed to happen is when the tone arm is in position, I believe this should open up, but it's not opening up. Now, I could bypass it. You know, the problem with Kenwoods of this vintage is they used the tension from the little nylon gears and things instead of springs and like metal levers. And the white nylon gets very, very brittle. I don't understand how that's supposed to work. So when I move the tone arm over, yeah, I mean, this isn't moving at all. It's only going in one direction, and the direction it's going is to close or ground out both channels. So what causes that to move in the other direction, and why is it stuck? Huh. Well, this might be an easy one, but it looks like it's going to be a little more challenging. So I'm going to chew on this off camera, try a couple of things, move a couple of things around, and I'll come back and let you know. What bothers me is there was a screw in here. Like, where did that screw come from? Why was there a screw floating around the bottom of this turntable? That doesn't make any sense. I'll be right back. All right, so I'm going to zoom in on that muting circuit, and I want to show you. Now, I'd have to look at a service manual, but I'm just kind of farting around here. So this only moves in one direction, right? So that only moves in one direction this way. Now, I'm wondering if this isn't supposed to be on the other side, right? Like that. Because that would open, right? So right now, that opens, but I don't know if that would make sense. Right, so there we have sound, there. I think that would ground it. I think that would essentially mute the sound coming from the stylus. And for those that don't know what a muting circuit is, you don't want to hear that thud. You don't want to hear the thud when tone arm hits the record. It could damage your speakers. You can put your stereo receiver, force it to go into protection. So I'm thinking, I don't know if that's it or not. Let's try it. Let's see if that did anything for us. So I'm going to flip this over, throw the test record on, let you know what I found out. All right, I think I have an idea. So I want to show you what I've been kind of messing around with. If I oh, here it is. All right, so we're going to hear a beep. If I go from, let me do it here. If I go from the end of the tone arm, you'll hear a beep. So I'm going to hit the right channel, right? So I'm good all the way to the end of the tone arm. However, when I put a head shell on it, and I screw it down, and I go to the right channel on the head shell, nothing. Nothing at all. Now, I don't think... Yeah, I get nothing at all. Now, the red is pulled out a little bit on this head shell, but it's doing it with both head shells, and I know that mine is a tested good working head shell. So red and white actually aren't tight enough on the pins here, and I can sort that out. I don't think that's not original, and someone has replaced the tone arm wires, it looks like, possibly. But with mine, because mine is known working, and if I plug it in, and if I hit red, oh, there I'm getting a good clear signal. I don't know. Let me put the bottom back on this again and try it again. I have no idea. There's absolutely no reason this should have diminished output. I have no idea why the output is so weak on this. No idea at all. Oh, now that's interesting. When I go white on this head shell from the cartridge, I'm not getting anything. When I go red from the cartridge, but this is a known good cartridge. Let me try white negative. Nothing. I'm not getting anything. This doesn't make any sense to me at all. It makes zero sense to me at all. Nothing is working the way it's supposed to work with this. So, and now I'm not getting red. Now I'm getting no connectivity on red. It's probably because I shut it off. Why would I shut that off? Maybe it turned itself off? I don't know. This is the point in the troubleshooting where things tend to get a little convoluted. So there we have red positive, red negative, and this should be white positive and white negative. But I wasn't getting that from the other head shell. I wonder if that other head shell is too short. I need to ask the owner if this head shell is like an aftermarket head shell. I mean, if you look at the difference, right, the head shell on the right definitely would go back a little bit further than the head shell on the left. So I wonder if this is not long enough to make contact. I wonder, let me try, well, but I've tried this stylus before. So let me continue to chew on this. This is man, this is gonna drive me crazy. It's gonna drive me crazy if I can't get this going this afternoon. The only other thing that I can think of, is there's got to be a broken wire in this tone arm somewhere. So I'm going to try to remove the little end nut and see if I can look at the I'm looking for one of my screwdrivers here. I want to see if maybe, I don't know. Is that ground wire disconnected? I mean, it doesn't, nothing is adding up with this turntable right now. And I've got to find my screwdriver tip, so I'll have to do that off camera. I'll come back and see if I can remove that and see something. Give me a clue as to what the heck is going on with this. It's a simple, I mean, it comes right in. There's the muting circuit. I'm getting continuity, but I'm not getting sound. It doesn't make any sense that I'm not getting sound. It defies reason that I would not get sound on this thing. Well, I'm going to share an embarrassing story with you, but I will edit out what I actually was working on, because I thought, okay, low output, and then I had low output, and I'm like, what is going on? So I ended up tearing this whole thing apart, trying to figure out why I had low output. And I'm still back to the cartridge is broken, right? So, but as I was troubleshooting the low output, because I was getting it with a test cartridge that I grabbed from inside and all this other stuff, I failed to realize that the tape monitor button was depressed on my integrated amplifier. So this integrated amplifier is different from the Macintosh. So when it's on phono, there's a separate tape source button, and I did not check that. So, so stupid, so stupid. So anyway, now I'm going to connect the turntable to the amplifier. The cartridge is separated a little bit, so I want to see, and because I had my test one on here, and I'm going to set this Ortofon, normally about 1.5, I think. This is an Ortofon Omega. I would definitely recommend that the owner upgrade. Put that at 1.5. Let's plug this in and see if we get some sound. Yeah, luckily it only took me about 20 minutes to go through all of that stuff. Oh, and then my phone is going off, so yeah. I would say there is a little bit of diminished output. Now let's slide this back together all the way. All right, make sure everything is seated nice and firmly. And I'm still not convinced that this cartridge is 100%. But okay, so that's on. Yeah. I would say that there was diminished output and a hum present, for sure. So I believe that was the issue. Just to confirm, and I'd like to see how much volume difference there is just to the ear, right? I'm not going to get real nerdy on it. And this is way too heavy for that. Oh yeah, yeah. So again, I think this this cartridge had separated a little bit. It looks to me like someone may have put new wires on it, possibly, or this might be a different head shell. But that crack, right, kind of allows this to slide back, and you don't get good connection, and then you get diminished output. So I would recommend replacement of that. Plus, I'm not an Ortofon fan, so. All right, so we have sound out of both channels. Great. I've got my soldering iron warmed up. I'm going to reattach the end of the ground wire onto the cable. And I'm going to remove the RCA cables. This is just a test record, so nobody freak out. And this is just going to be a matter of me maybe taking a little tiny bit off of this, cleaning up the wires, and then soldering on the new. Or resoldering on the end, I should say. Yeah, I need a little bit more than that. All right, so I'm going to work on this. I'm going to strip off maybe another 1/4 inch, and then that should enable me to get this seated in there good. I'll crimp it, put a little bit of solder there, get it to where it is not going to separate, hopefully, again. So I'll be right back. All right, ground wire has been, the little spade connector has been reattached. So that should be good. It's not going anywhere. Now speed. Got a few minutes this afternoon before I have to go on to the next thing. Speed on this thing. The belt is centered on the spindle-ish. That's, I think, this belt just seems small. I think this belt might be too small for this turntable. I'm gonna play around with a couple of different belts. I don't think it's wide enough. I don't think it's wide enough. So let me see what I have in my stash. I'm gonna see if I can get a better belt. All right, so we have a tale of 2 belts. Spoiler alert, the new belt got this just about dead on at 33 1/3, but I'm gonna show you the difference. Now, this belt was the one that was on it, right? And I thought it was not wide enough for the spindle. Kept floating up and down. I had a new belt. I just happened to have a new belt because I bought 2 for a Kenwood that I serviced a while ago. The belt on the bottom is the new belt, right? Look how much wider that is. If I throw this on the platter, at least for 33, now I haven't tested 45, but for 33, plus when I recentered the guide, watch what happens to the speed now. We were at what, 33.03? Give it a second. So at 33.17, it was 33.29. Make sure I got that belt on. Good, make sure it's not rubbing. Because if it is rubbing, just reposition the belt real quick, make sure it's good. Or if it's twisted, it'll cause weird issues. I didn't really look that closely at what I was doing. Alright. So let's fire it up, see what happens. See if it makes a liar out of me. Usually they do. Why in the hell is it at 32.9 now? Oh my gosh, and yes, I have an alarm going off. All right, I'm gonna have to put this to the side because this turntable and I are gonna fight here in a minute, and it's gonna lose because it is driving me crazy at this point. Again, I'm not a big fan of Kenwoods. They're prone to weird stuff going on like this. Try one more time. And then I got to step away. All right. Yeah, 33.18, 33 point. I may be able to tweak that a little bit, get it a little bit closer. I have a couple of magic tricks that I can try. Let's see, 45. So now the belt is moving down on the spindle. All right, 45.7. Owner said that it would normally switch over right away. Now, because the belt is moving, this is not a direct drive table. Direct drive tables will go like that. Belt drive tables just will not. So I think it's probably that's by design. Not to say that that didn't happen at some point in time, but this is more consistent with a belt drive table than it instantly flipping over and you know, going from 33 to 45 without any type of delay. 33.19, I can get it better. I can get it better than that. So I'm going to kind of work this off camera. I may have another belt I can try, but this might be as good as we get. It might just be running at 33.19, but we'll see. See what I can do. All right, going to pick this up with working on the speed issue. And I'm going to do two things first. Number one, even though I think the spindle is plenty good, it can probably be a little bit better. And number two, excuse me while I get my head in here, I do want to at least lube the spindle on the motor. A couple drops of oil down there. I do want to clean it up. There's some gunk in there. So I'm going to do those two things. The spindle, it appears, I think when I had this flipped upside down, I think there's a little screw on the side, and then I can remove that. I want to clean up some of this stuff. It's down here. It looks like there might be, can't really tell. There might be one lubrication point, but I don't see anything that says there is, but there looks like there might be an opening down there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Actually, I'll do that after I lubricate the spindle. That way I can let that run for a little bit, let that oil get to where it needs to get to, and then we can test for speed and see if we have made any difference at all. So I'll do that off camera, and I will come right back. Actually, you know, if I can do it in the frame, maybe I will do it so you can see what that process looks like. Right, so remove the bottom. Right, so there's a little tiny, oh, it's pinned. There's not a screw, it's a pin. Ooh, I don't know. Why would they put a pin in there? Again, it's a Kenwood thing, right? It's a Kenwood thing to have a pin in there and not a screw, so I'm not even going to mess with it. It's open on the bottom, though, which I think is odd. So if I turn that... Oh, no, it's not open on the bottom. I don't know. I have not seen that before. I don't know if that pin comes out. I'm not going to try to force it. I'm just going to see if I can wiggle it a little bit. To me, it looks like that pin is stationary. So we are going to leave it as is. And while I have it upside down, I do need to put this cover back on over the tone arm wires. Alright, so I'm going to finish cleaning this up. See if I can remember how that was on there. I think it was probably like that. Something like this. Like that. So I'll put this back on. And then maybe I'll guess I'll have to lube the spindle from the top. Weird. But again, it's a Kenwood. I shouldn't be surprised. Alright, one thing I noticed while I do have the bottom off of this, let's see if this plate is kind of easily removable, because maybe I can lubricate the bottom bearing. And here we go. Nice. Well, that makes nice. Oh my gosh, look at the gunk in there. Look at the gunk in there. So we're going to clean this and remove that garbage, and then we're going to re-lube that bearing. And I hope that by doing so, we can get the speed dialed in a little bit better. So. And I could remove the spindle and then pull this whole piece out, which I probably should do. Let's see. Whoops. So removing the spindle. Just one little screw, or this might have two. I think this has two screws. Yeah, two screws on the sides. And it is a teeny, 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 tiny screwdriver that I need to remove this. All right, let's see if that's enough to slide that off. Nope. I'm sure you can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm just trying to remove the two screws for the spindle on the motor. And once I do, that one will not come off. So there's two. One is kind of colored red, and that one is not moving. So I got the other one off. Let's see, and then I'm kind of contending with the magnet for the motor. Keep wanting to suck it back in there. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to remove this one, and I don't want to strip it. Boy, this is in a horrible spot to do this. Up on its side like this. I got it. Good. All right. But it's not breaking free, so I'm not going to worry about it. I will tighten those screws again though. I don't want to break anything, but there's a lot of grease and gunk on the bottom of this. All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of 3-in-1 oil. Put a few drops down here. All right, and then we will lube the top part and the top part of the platter spindle. Let the motor run for a little bit. And see where that gets us. So here is, oh, grab the wrong screwdriver. Make sure these are both tight on here. It's gonna move on me. All right, I'm gonna have to put the bottom back on. I'm gonna do that off camera, come back and we'll work on that spindle. Okay, couple drops of oil here. Couple drops of oil here. Again, I don't want to go crazy, but right. So I'm going to let this run for a few minutes. I need to go inside and find my phone. And then we'll see what the speed is doing. But I want to make sure that oil has an opportunity to kind of get down in there and do its thing for the motor. So I'll be back and we can test. We can test for speed. All right, so it's all back together. Let it run for a little bit. I do want to show you though something about the condition of the belt that was on it. I don't know if you can see this, but if I run that belt, can you see those cracks? I don't know if you can see it, but this belt is all cracked and dry. I don't know if you can see those or not. But that belt that was on here was definitely not in good shape, and it was drying out pretty good. All right, let's give it a speed check, see how close we got it. And again, with the phone, right, when it's green, that's supposed to be imperceptible to your ears. So I'm going to be happy if we're somewhere close to 33.2. Ideally you want 33.3. There's 33.34. I mean, so I'm more than happy with that. Now 45, let's see what 45 does. I'm less concerned with 45, and so 45.9. There's really not much that I can do with that. If the belt is good at 33, 44.9, I mean, how much closer are we going to get? I think that's pretty good. Now the speed switching between the two, again, this is a belt drive turntable. Direct drive, it would be a lot faster, but with a belt drive turntable, I don't know that we can get it better than that. And I mean, this belt is like the perfect belt for this. So. All right, I think what I have left to do on this, so let's recap what we did. I still need to talk to the owner about the cartridge. This cartridge I would recommend we replace because, right, it's cracked and it's just going to give them problems. This is not a particularly high quality cartridge. It was not even aligned correctly on here. So I'm probably going to see if they want to do something different, because I'm going to do another sound check on this just to make sure everything is good. So anyway, we sorted out kind of the low output. I soldered on the end of the ground cable spade. Found a belt that fits, serviced the spindle as well as we could, serviced the motor without taking the top spindle off, but as we can see by their performance, it seems to be all right. Oh, the other thing I have to do is adjust this tone arm elevator. So right now, so that's the down position, the up position, it does not go high enough at all. So we're going to adjust that as well. Should be an adjustment screw for this somewhere over here, I would imagine. Yeah, it looks like there's one on the side. So let's turn this off. And what I like to do is throw a record on. And we're looking for 10-ish millimeters, right? From the bottom of the stylus to the top of the record. So this is my test. And this counterweight is all jacked up over on this thing. All right. So that is about, I would say 4 or 5 millimeters off the top, which is, I guess it's fine. It raises towards the center, which is kind of weird. Why is it doing that? I think the tone arm guide on the elevator looks to me to be a little bit crooked. So let me see if I can raise this end just a little bit. So if I hit play, and all right, yeah, so actually it was in the up position because I hit the cut button, so I need to raise it a little bit more so that way we can manually pick the tone arm up off the record. I need to go up another couple millimeters. Okay. All right. That to me looks like it's still kind of low. Trial and error. That's all it is. Trial and error. Trial and error. All right. That's... it keeps dropping down. I don't know what the deal is. All right. I'm going to mess around with this. There are 2 screws, and I'm not real sure which one is doing what here. So let me look at this and figure out what these two screws are doing. All right, new head shell, our new cartridge has been installed into the head shell. These are aftermarket head shell wires though, and they're a little bit loose on the posts here, so I need to crimp those down a little bit, make them go on there a little bit tighter because they keep sliding off. So, and they're just slightly loose, so it doesn't take a lot to pinch that down and pop that back on the new one. This is the cartridge I'm going to recommend to the owner of the table. These are the cartridges that I ran until I started using moving coil, which is what I use now. And I think they're great cartridges. It's an Audio-Technica VM530EN. Cool thing about these is the cartridge body, easily upgradable, right? So you can put a microline or keep it with the Nude elliptical, which is a great cartridge. And this is low hours. So it gives you a lot of, it's very easily customizable, modifiable, which is nice. Now, to line this up, I need to find my alignment gauge, and I believe it's in the house. Yep, it's in the house. So let me find that, and I'll be right back. In fact, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll use my test record. I'll show you that test record and see how I also align cartridges on some of the turntables. All right, so here's what I do. So I have a Hi-Fi News analog test record. I've had this for several years now. I use it occasionally. Usually I go with manufacturer overhang and things like that. Sometimes I'll just use this test record. I don't know if this is an actual OEM Kenwood head shell though, so I'm just going to use the test record to align it. So right, what I do is I come over here. That tone arm is way high. Oh, you know what? I don't think I let it do its thing. So there we go. Now I can cut and lift it up. So let's do it this way. Now I can move it. And what I'm looking for is where the stylus touches the record. I want to make sure the front of it is right aligned. And that looks good. And that looks pretty good as well. I mean, it's almost dead on, so that's good. And then what I do is there are a couple of tracks on this record. And I will show you those here in a minute. I'll have to get this connected again. In fact, let me do that and I'll come back and I'll show you the test tracks that I use to figure out tracking and then anti-skate. And then once I do that, I call whatever my alignment is on the turntable complete. So let me do that and I will come right back. Let me get it set up. All right, so what I do on the test LP is I use tracks 1, 4, and 8 on side 2. And what will happen is there will be a tone, and if you hear distortion in the tone, you'll hear it on one speaker or another. And you can realign the cartridge, you can adjust tracking, you can adjust the weight of the tone arm, right, the tracking force of the tone arm. And I realize I have not set this yet, so I'm going to set this. I'm going to do a poor man's kind of alignment on it. Oh, this turntable drives me freaking crazy. Just with its operation, like, can you just help me out? There we go. All right, so here we've got it set to. So that's 0-ish. I normally run these at about 1.5, 1.4-ish, something like that. There we go. And then I am going to set this with some pretty light tracking. I think that's the right position for light. That might be heavy tracking. And we'll listen to those tracks and see what it does. So if I put it on number 1, okay, so I'm getting a little bit of distortion on the right channel on number 1. And then what you do is you can adjust, again, you can adjust tracking and anti-skate and all that stuff. You want to hear like a steady tone. You don't want to hear any disturbance. Now this actually, yeah, still got a little bit on the right channel. So I'm going to kind of tweak things. My goal is to get it to where it'll play 1, 4, and 8 with as little distortion as possible. This is not an audiophile turntable. There's only so much I can do as far as tweaking this and getting it dialed in. So you can't go crazy with kind of a low-end turntable. This is not a particularly high-end turntable. So I'm going to play around with this and get those 4 tracks dialed in, and then I think I'm gonna buff the dust cover and call this one good. So let me get this aligned, get it to where I want it, and then I'll come back and I think I'll wrap the video up. All right, got it cleaned up. I opted to not buff the dust cover because the dust cover's in really, really good shape. So, and yeah, it's a pretty clean turntable. I managed to straighten this badge up a little bit, so hopefully it stays in position. But these have a tendency, they literally just glued the badges, and the badge I'm talking about is here. They glued these badges on. I mean, there are no pegs holding it in position or anything. They just glued them. I mean, but again, you know, Kenwood. Right, so anyway, I'm going to call the Kenwood KD2000 done. It's dialed in, new belt. Let's see, new belt, spindle lubed, motor lubed, new ground spade connector, tested, aligned, new cartridge. I think it's good to go. So, as always, if you like what you see, like it, subscribe, and I will catch you all in the next video.